What is up, everybody? Jacob Bartley here, and I'm here to review the new Duncan Jones film, Mute. It is now on Netflix, a film that I've been very much looking forward to because of the director, because of the cast, because of the trailers have looked really, really cool. Duncan Jones, if you don't know about this director, he's directed movies like Moon, like Source Code, like Warcraft. I haven't seen Moon. Source Code is one of my favorite movies ever. That movie is fantastic. If you haven't seen Source Code starring Jake Gyllenhaal, it's Duncan Jones. I've only seen Source Code and Warcraft, but I mean, when I'm comparing those two, that Source Code is Duncan Jones' best film in my opinion. I still need to go back and watch Moon. I've heard it's amazing, and I actually really like Warcraft. So I was looking forward to this movie Mute a lot. On top of that, throw in it stars Alexander Skarsgård, who I think is just a movie star in the making. Paul Rudd, who is one of the greats right now, and one of my favorite actors ever. And some other supporting cast characters who are great. And then just set in this world, this Blade Runner inspired type world where it's set in the future, technology is advanced. The type of lifestyles that people live, like it seems like prostitution is legal in this world. Crime is more common, and there's not as much, security, or there's not a lot of cops around and stuff like that. That it's set in this type of world, but at the bottom of its core, it's a somewhat of a love story and a mystery and a thriller and a comedy at a lot of points. Overall, a Mute, I enjoyed it. At first, I wasn't sure how I felt about it. It tries to be weird and kooky, and it is weird and kooky. I just felt like it drags a little bit in the middle, but then the ending was very strong, so I ended up really liking the film. I'm going to go into a little bit of depth on that right now, so you have been warned. This is going to be spoilers from here on out. If you clicked on the title, then you already knew that. But yes, let's start off with the cast. Well, at least the two leads, right? Alexander Skarsgård and Paul Rudd. Skarsgård is a great actor, I think. Not a great actor, but he's really good. I think he was great in Tarzan, any other small things I've seen him in, and in Mute, when he doesn't speak in this movie, that's amazing. Like, the way he can portray emotions without speaking. We've seen actors and actresses do that before, but it's different when you see it from each actor, and I thought he did a pretty good job of expressing those emotions without being able to speak. It's hard to be the lead of a film where you don't speak, and that's pretty cool. Paul Rudd is awesome in this movie. He's awesome in everything, but I've never seen him play this role. He is a maniac in this movie. And from the trailers, you get a sense he's not a great guy, but you don't know what's really up with that character. In this movie, he's a psychopath. He's the main antagonist, and the thing is, like, you don't realize that until a certain point in the movie, and that's what was great. There's a turn in the movie, like basically the turn from the second act to the third act, where the movie got really good, and the ending is very strong. And like I said, I was watching this movie, I'm like, okay, cool little setup for the love story, great motivation for our lead Alexander Skarsgård to go looking for his missing girlfriend. That was great, and it's like it's a mystery thriller at that point. And then like there was the moments between Paul Rudd and his best friend where it's like comedic moments and like creepy moments, and it's like, does this play into the story at all? Like, or were they just trying to make a funny scene right here? But then you realize that those scenes are important and they pay off towards the end of the film. So by the end of the movie, I'm like, okay, all of this ties together and it makes sense, and it ends up being a pretty good movie. But as the movie's going on, you're like, it's okay. It's kind of stupid in some of the jokes and the funny parts that it's showing. But by the end of the movie, you realize pretty much every scene was relevant to get to this point. And I just thought it was really cool. And those are some of the best movies where it goes a certain way that you're not expecting, and it kind of surprises you at the end. And Mute did do that for me a lot. And I think the world is just really cool. There's certain elements with the technology, like the fly food, how you can just go sit at a bench at a park and have food brought to you by a drone. That's coming. That we could do that right now if we wanted to in our society, and that I guarantee you that's coming in real life. So I don't know if it's ever been done in movies before, but I saw it in Mute, so I'm gonna always be like, remember in Mute when they had food delivered by drones, and when it's happening in real life in like 2 years, watch. And just there's just really cool elements to the technology. The robot strippers, like in robot like sex dolls, and those are real. Those exist today, but it's just like they're not part of the normal nightlife or normal society yet, and I'm sure they will be. Yeah, and it was just a really cool feeling movie. It had a good just background to the story. Like the setting created a really cool background for what ended up being a pretty good story. It's a sad story. It's a tragic story when you get to the end of it, when he finds his girlfriend's body and all that stuff. But it does get to you. There's some emotional moments too. And Paul Rudd's character is a freaking maniac, like I said, and his best friend character is disgusting. Like, and you'll know what I'm talking about once you watch the film. And it's like both of these guys are antagonists in the movie, and for different reasons. They're antagonists to each other. They're antagonists to Alexander Skarsgård. They're antagonists to the girlfriend and the girlfriend's daughter, and all this stuff. And it's like you get satisfying endings for both of these villains. And here's the thing: so Alexander Skarsgård kills Paul Rudd's character, Cactus, which is an awesome name, Cactus. And you're thinking like, man, that was a satisfying death. He really deserved that. But then you see there's a turn where you're like, this guy's still here though, and the movie can't end right now, because if Cactus's, Paul Rudd's best friend, goes to live on, then that's a terrible ending. Like, not in this narrative wise, but like just in the events that are happening, like that would be terrible. Like, as a viewer, I was like, please don't end the movie right here, because if that character lives, the Paul Rudd's best friend, then that's like a scary ending, honestly. But you get a full satisfied ending because eventually Alexander Skarsgård takes out both of those characters in satisfying ways and satisfying deaths, and these characters deserve to die. And it was just very satisfying to watch as a viewer, because they play with you a little bit. They're like, uh-oh, like, is this going to be an abrupt ending where they kind of leave you guessing and you think like, damn, that's not how I wanted that movie to end. But then it ends up tying it up. It's still a tragedy, this movie, that by the end of the movie, but it takes that tragedy and makes it the best possible outcome that it can be regarding the circumstances. And like I said, Alexander Skarsgård is the heart of this movie. You care for his character. By the end of the movie, he didn't get to what he wanted, but he ended up having a satisfying ending for himself, and in a way he saved the daughter of the woman that he loved, and that's about the best thing he could have done if he can't be with the woman that he loves. So for that reason, I really liked Mute. The third act brought it all together for me and made it a pretty good movie, when honestly I thought I wasn't going to like this movie. And I try not to think ahead when I'm watching it, but like halfway through the movie, I was like, nah, like I'm going to be trashing this movie in my review. And there are negative elements, like I said, like the first and second act, you don't really know where you're going, but the third act does tie it together. So I do enjoy Mute. I do recommend it, especially because all you have to do is pop on Netflix to watch it. Even if it was in theaters, I would say go ahead and give it a try if you're into the type of things that I said you're into. And hopefully you didn't even watch this review if you haven't seen the movie. This is for people who have seen it. Well, that's going to do it for my review. Again, I am Jacob Bartley for Apocalypse Movies. You can find us on Apocalypse Movies YouTube channel, of course, and on iTunes. We're putting our main shows up on there. Thank you all for watching. Until next time, watch some movies.